wave your hand, all people from Pathway Lending, if you could throw your hand up. Thank you guys so much for everything. If you haven't registered, please do so and talk to them. Key Dawson gave us great information. He is a senior business advisor. Also gave a personal story of him getting into business and some of the pitfalls of what he had to go through. Yolanda Hazlett is the senior director of accounting at the Chamber and also a business owner as well, and had a lot of information, very important information when it comes to numbers and accounting and making sure that you're doing your due diligence with your business. Quentin Lawrence had it was almost like a sermon almost when he gave us his information, but it was so thorough and it walked you through the pitfalls and what you can do and what can happen, and what can happen when you do things wrong. Also, what can happen when you do things right. So tonight is a great opportunity because we have actual business owners that if you were here last night, you got all of that great information. So now we can put it in real time, a real life situation, so to speak, so they can give us all of their information. So thank you guys so much for taking time out with us and letting us know that you care about getting into business and you want the information to move forward. So we have our panelists tonight, and what I'm going to do, I will give them the mic. I will ask the first question. The first thing that you could do is tell us who you are, your business, and how you got involved, and how you started your business. And let me know if you want me to get some wipes or something. I know we're still smack dab in the middle of COVID, so I can wipe stuff down and do all of that too. So we just wanted to make sure that you guys feel as comfortable as, what did you say? Feels good?
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Tisdale. I'm with Roots Hair and Beauty. My brother Samuel Tisdale and I are the founders of Roots Hair and Beauty. Long story short, and he does a lot better job than I do of telling this story of how we got into business, but my mother actually went to a beauty supply store here in town, and she was looking to get some items, and the treatment she received, the lack of respect, just blatant racism almost there. It drove him passionately to be able to get into this industry and do something different for her, our people in the community overall. She's actually here tonight. I don't want to put her on the spot too much, but she's over there in the back right corner. Hey, Mom. So ultimately, we can thank her for the creation of Roots Hair and Beauty. As far as challenges and things go, I can't think of any obstacles that have been harder to get into than this industry. I'm still learning things every day aside from the knowledge of the beauty industry. Just combating the constant competition and what is known as the Korean associations. A lot of you may know, some of you may not know, but basically the industry is dominated by the Koreans, and they banded together to keep it that way. And my brother strategically found a way to get in there. He's done an excellent job of presenting this opportunity for our people, make sure that we have a nice customer service offering. You're treated with respect when you come into the stores.
Hello, good evening. My name is Sheena Allen, and I am the owner of So Pretty Designs. My business is almost 2 years old. It'll be in next year, February. I'll have 2 years under my belt. But my business was started, I actually do embroidery, designs, t-shirts, custom gifts, anything that started from when we had our daughter. This is my husband, by the way. Yes, it's so pretty. He is my business partner, even though he says he's a solid investor. But it started because when I had my daughter, I was working at Blue Cross, and then I ended up not going back to work, staying home. At our baby shower, we got so many cute custom gifts like blankets or onesies and things always say, "Oh, it's so pretty." You know, it's just a little added touch, an added flair. And so staying home, I started doing it as a hobby, just making gifts for my friends, my neighbors. And the next thing you know, it ended up being my neighbor's neighbors or my neighbor's family. And it just got to be so profitable so that we decided to take a little step out. I had to get my business plan together to tell my husband on why I wanted to purchase equipment, you know, sewing machine, embroidery machine, printers, presses, and everything. But we started, and it's just been very successful for us. So it's just adding a little custom flair to gifts, so things that you give to your family, your friends, or your loved ones. And then I think you asked about some unique challenges that I have faced. Starting the business, I will say, is very stressful because everyone gets started thinking, I'm just ready to jump out there, make money, and do what I do. And you can do it that way, but the problem with it is, if you don't follow all the steps, you're going to end up behind, you're going to end up missing out, you're going to end up going out of business. I used to work in advertising, and I was an outdoor sales associate, and I saw it so many times, businesses coming in but didn't have their ducks in a row, and it ended up going out of business. And so you do have to definitely make sure you're starting on the right path. And the biggest thing that was a challenge for me was, even though I know people that are doing similar things, there was no networking or no support. It was like late night with us Googling, figuring out what to do, what not to do, trying it and failing. And so I think that being a new business, you don't have a lot of support. So I was happy that I was able to stumble across Quentin with Pathway because he allowed us to work together and told us some things that I didn't know, why people wouldn't call us back, and that really helped us to get our business started. So that's great.
Hello, I'm Brandon Ellis with Chatterbox Cafe. We are a mobile barbecue catering business. We started out back in 2015 with a minivan and a pull-behind smoker. Riding around town peddling pork. Built some relationships with local breweries and things like that allowed us to be able to set up and build a relationship with them because, you know, they would have people coming and drinking and hanging out, but when they got hungry, they'd leave. So my buddy Joe invited us to come over and start to sell barbecue. You know, it allowed us to get in front of people that want us to cater, do private events. Then they kind of led into doing festivals and things like that. That's kind of when we stepped into getting into the mobile food scene as far as food trucks and trailers. It's been an enjoyable process just because I was able to kind of start from the bottom to actually learn as much as I could about the business, the art of barbecue. Moved here from Kentucky back in 2006, and my family raised hogs and tobacco, so, you know, it was always around fresh meats and fresh produce. So when I came to Chattanooga, you know, I looked around and I would ask people, you know, where do you go eat this, where do you go eat that? And there was never a consistent. It was kind of like, you know, we go here on this because they have a sale over here, or we used to go over here, but he's no longer there. You know, it was just kind of like, there was no place where when someone came to Chattanooga and said, where do I go get barbecue? It was one definitive answer. And that let me know that the market was open. So now we have a brick and mortar spot over on Hickory Valley, Shallow Road. We've got a couple of food trucks. We do catering. And as far as obstacles, I think it's scaling the business because as the owner, you know, you have such a passion for what you do, and you want that passion to trickle down into your staff. So ultimately, the customer gets to reap the benefit of that. And you know, finding people to buy into the concept, buy into the idea of what you're trying to do, sometimes can be too big for people. So for me, I think the biggest obstacle is just you know, finding the right people to grow the brand and to continue the quality and the standards that you have for your product. Because for me, when I started, basically, I sat down and decided how much money I needed to make a month to live the lifestyle that I wanted to live. And then I started researching the market to see what the prices were on barbecue, slabs of ribs, to pounds of meat, to ultimately decide how much food I needed to sell to make what I needed to make. That allowed me to maintain the quality, and I didn't have to mass produce to try to make money.
Okay.
So, you know, that whole mind frame is what you want, or what I want in my people. So I'm pretty particular, and it's just hard finding those right people. And for me, you know, being in the catering and mobile, you know, it's kind of a blessing because I can kind of control how much I can take on based on how many people I have. So, yeah, but
Okay.
Brandon.
Thank you.
All right, I'm Chonda Chambers with Chambers Welding and Fabrication. I face all kinds of challenges. I think one, you gotta want it, you gotta find out what you really wanna do, that's number one. You gotta find whatever niche you're getting into, you need to research it. You need to make sure that you're not doing it just because everybody else is doing it. Remember that embroidery with your names on it? Everybody was doing that. Everybody could get their name on something. I was always the person looking for something that we weren't doing. And so I always found joy in that. My background is in human resources. I was in the military for a while. I come from a military family. My mama was Navy, my brother was Navy, I was Army, my son's Navy, my niece is Navy, no, Army. So we were brought up kind of real strict and disciplined. We were go-getters, we were athletic. It came into fruition when I went into business for myself. That's how I was able to, I was the kind of person that no matter what you dropped in my lap, I was gonna make it happen. And I just wanted to get out of the corporate world. I got tired of it. I was in HR. After military, I went into nursing. After nursing, I went into human resources. When I went into human resources, I got tired of people, I got tired of seeing the lack of integrity. And so I decided that I wanted to save up some money and take some time off and be with my family. And so when I did, I ended up finding the niche of doing welding with my husband, Kern. We didn't have anything. I actually was like, if you're gonna date me, you gotta open up a business with me. And he was like, okay. We had a $7,000 credit card. I promised him I would make sure he wouldn't fail in life. And he said, okay. And he gave me that opportunity to do what I'm doing today. We absolutely had nothing at all. We actually started off in his garage at his house in Woodwell, Tennessee. We then evolved into a small place, North Shore, that they didn't even have a police. It was all God. And then after that, I went into the office because a friend of mine said, I have a bigger building for you. And she was joking. I was like, oh, you know, I'm down. I went in the office and I said to Brent, my bookkeeper, I said, hey, what do y'all think about us going into a bigger building? They were like, I was like, good, because I've already signed the lease. So I would tell you not to do it how I have done it. First and foremost. But I would tell you now that I'm in the stage of, I've paid the time. Everyone knows me in this room. If you don't, then I'm coming behind and shaking your hand and getting to know you. I have really paid the payment of getting to know everybody so that my business made it, and that I didn't, disappoint my husband. That being said, I was relentless. I told everybody my passion and my dream, and a lot of people in this room helped me get to where I am today. I took a lot of leaps of faith, and thank God my husband was there to support me in every leap that I made. The money has been tight. I didn't understand about financing. The only thing I knew was about hiring fire folks. And the only thing he knew was welding. So I didn't understand any of the finances. This year has been the worst year of my life in regards to bookkeepers. I've learned so much about taxes and loans, and man. So it doesn't get easier. Once you start making money, you're going to have to sit up here and come up with more money for that money, and then more money for that money, and that money. It's a forever chase. But if you have it in your heart, I love every day of it. So if you have it in your heart, definitely go for it. struggles. I had all the struggles. I didn't look at it being as a struggle. I looked at it as it was the next hurdle I needed to get past because I wanted to make it. I think that answered everything. I can talk forever.
Excellent. All right. This is what we'll do. We had Key and Yolanda and Quentin to go over elements. We had the business planning essentials, we had financial management, and funding fundamentals. So we'll start with business planning, the essentials of that, and if we could keep our statements to 5 minutes. And this is a great one-on-one time. 5 minutes. The best things and worst things that you had to go through when coming up with your business plan. Because it's a lot of information that Key gave us yesterday.
I think I'll succinctly put that in there. Overall, when it comes to the business plan, most important aspects, for my opinion, is going to be the vision of the company and the mission. If you don't know where you're going, you're just aimlessly walking in the forest. There may be multiple paths, but it'd be a lot nicer knowing which path you're going to take before you get there. And so, as we were navigating everything, we looked at industry, competition, cost analysis, how long it's going to take there, time to market, startup costs. All of these were just astronomical. So what we did was broke it down into segments. Each segment had a goal and different targets to reach it. Start off with our smaller goals, and then once we reached each smaller goal, just stair-stepped and took it up to a large goal, which was eventually opening up the store, opening up our second store, and so on and so forth. Again, why did I say it started with that mission, the vision? Because once you've accomplished those goals, where do you go from there? And that's kind of your guiding light, your backbone. For us, we want to duplicate that experience that I mentioned earlier, that great customer service offering for all the customers, and we want to do that nationwide. If we can accomplish that, our goals will have been met. That's what we set out to do from the beginning, and we're working tirelessly to make sure that we get there. A lot of people will start a business just simply thinking, I want to make money. Or, I think I'm good at this, I think I'm good at that, and I'm going to try and do this. Some of the common denominator factors you probably heard up here was a problem and it was solved, or a passion with that. You will never go broke solving problems, ever. You don't have to be an inventor by any means, but you can create, a service to help make someone's life easier. And so, in our particular case, that's what it was, service. And we utilize storefronts, and now we're also doing e-commerce, working online, but we use the storefront aspect to be able to deliver that greater customer service aspect. And for many of you that have shopped with us, you can see the difference. Treat you with respect. You can go there and get knowledge about a particular hairstyle. If you don't know about hair growth or particular shampoo, what makes it a natural product or not, our staff will be there to assist you. We'll make sure we do a lot of training and that they are educated on all of this so that when you walk in there, you get a totally different experience than what you're used to, or if you step into another store, what you're currently used to. So, again, I want to just reiterate, mission, you got to have that mission and then the vision.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, kudos to your store. I only shop there, just so you know. And I say the same thing. I tell everyone that comes into town, because I'm not originally from here, no, if we need something, we're going to. And I go to either of your locations, and every time you walk in, he's telling the truth. They're going to say, what can I help you with? So I kudos to that. I appreciate it. But one thing about Max is so pretty, I'm sorry. Make sure I have the question correct. Sticking to the plan, one thing about a business plan, I do agree is important. I had to create a business plan even to sell my husband, because, you know, we can't just take risks and not know where we're planning to take the business. And it's fun to say, oh, I just want to do this on the side, but when you start putting in investments and things, you have to realize, okay, this is money that's coming from our finances, and you have to tell us what, you know, how we're going to get this money back. And so setting aside the time early to put that business plan together, and then also one thing we did was start it small. I've been in business almost 2 years. Again, it'll be next year's for us. But starting small and making sure that you're checking off those things on your list as you decide to, and not because someone else tells you to. One thing that I know for my business, I have some friends who are entrepreneurs, and they all say, you need to come on, you need to do this, you need to hurry up. Such and such is doing this, such and such is doing that. You can't grow your business based on what you see on social media, what you see other businesses are doing, because they're putting you out of business. You know what you can do, you know your capacity, what your limits are. I'm a mom, you know, we have 3 children. You can't just allow yourself to grow so big so fast that now you have not good customer service. You know, people coming in, you can't respond, you can't get products out to them in time. So even though you think the goal is to grow your business where everybody knows you and you're doing a great job, you want to make sure that you don't grow so fast that where you grow yourself out of the business because you can't keep up with it. And there's a lot of people that do t-shirts, there's a lot of people that do embroidery, but the one thing I want you to remember for our business is that you're going to get customer service. You're going to feel that I put my heart into making sure your product is made with love and was something that I would sell. I wouldn't sell it to you if I didn't like it. And my husband's the biggest person to say, it's fine. I'm like, it's not fine. I want to make sure, you know, you don't want to just sell something just to be selling it. I want to make sure it's clean and that you have a good, you know, experience with some print design. So with the business plan, start small, level it up, like you say, to where as you grow, you can go back and reevaluate. Okay, this is where we started. Now we're going to go into this, and that's the same thing that's happened for our business because we just t-shirt and embroidery, and then I also became licensed in package for embroidery. So now I'm adding in making custom apparel for that was only 140. And people ask, when are you doing this embroidery? When are you doing that fraternity? Start small, don't grow too fast because then you'll grow yourself out of business. Don't listen to other people, do it on your time.
I just want to add, some of the other things to think about when you're starting a business. A lot of people usually get into a business, a small business, because they find something that they're passionate about, something that they enjoy doing, or an opportunity. But there are also other things aside from that. If you produce a product that you really, if you have a product, a unique product that you love producing, you know, you're into arts and crafts and things like that, you love doing those things. But just remember, there are other things that go on behind the scenes that you cannot neglect. There are things, just like she said, accounting. Accounting can be a nightmare. Those are things you cannot neglect. You cannot let what you love, the parts that you love about your business, overshadow the things that have to go on behind the scenes to keep the business running. So accounting being one of those things that a lot of people typically may not really enjoy doing, but again, you have to make sure you're keeping those other things in line and making sure you're attending to those things to keep the business going and moving forward.
Okay. So I like what you said as far as taking the money handle. I tell people all the time it's easy to overmarket your operations. You can market, but then you don't have the ability to deliver it. Now you're a joke. But to the business plan, I feel like a business plan is always best case scenario. You know, when you start out and you write a business plan, you know, it's always everything's going to work. You know, it's the best case scenario. This is what's going to happen, and we're going to make it. I say that it's important to factor in, things that may not always go right. Some months are going to be tight. You know, you may lose staff, you may lose contracts. contracts, you know, those things are the reality of business, so those things have to be factored in. With me, as far as planning, I think that the plan is beneficial, especially when things start getting tight. In business, things get tight, and you, it's easy to do what's making money right now, and it may not be the best thing for the business in the long term. You know, hence the term all money ain't good money. I just feel like, you know, I know for me personally, you know, opportunities present themselves that may seem like a good fit when you need to make quick money, but a lot of times it end up costing you money. You know, people call for events and things, and it may sound like a good opportunity, but you get there and you know, they don't deliver on their end. So now you're stuck with product, now you gotta pay staff, and now it's something that you thought wasn't gonna produce enough to be worth your while was probably something that you should have stuck with. So for me, you know, I say in planning, you know, factor in the good, bad, and the ugly. And when it gets ugly, stick to the plan, because you know it's gonna get you through. Because especially if you factor in the downside of things, you know, if you stick to it, it'll pan out.
So I'm a natural planner. I plan everything. I think it comes from me being a single parent for a while. So I plan everything to the T, whereas my husband, who's my business partner, does not. So that creates its first problem. So I've made quite a few business plans. I've made one of which I am currently in today. I've made one of which I want to do as far as a school. I made one of which I want to do as far as online sales. I do them all the time. I put project goals, I do quarterly goals. I do meetings every Monday and Fridays with my staff, Tuesdays and Thursdays, with my staff to go over those goals. We go over production numbers. I operate my business as a manufacturing facility because that's where I did most of my HR at. So I'm a big goal person, big planning type person. I will tell you this, if there's certain levels. You got a business plan that brings you in the door to give you some realistic ideas of where you and your business is going to be and possibly get you some close to numbers or something. It's going to get you something. But once you start really doing it where it's your only source of income and really kind of start trying to take the flight off, you know, while you're on the ground kind of shaking the plane, your plan comes in handy. It does. Especially when it comes to the part of finances, you know, trying to figure out, like Brandon said, how much you need per month to make it. To tell you, when I first started off, even with the business plan, my credit went horribly down because I had to pay my employees before I paid myself. And a lot of times, that's what happens as an entrepreneur. So if you're waiting for the sign of, you know, I'm going to be financially set to take care of myself while I'm a business owner, that's not going to happen for you unless you get a really good loan. And even then, if you've never done it, you're going to waste a lot of money. So I would tell you that you know, that would be your first kind of business plan, and that's what that's for. Once you're able to take care of yourself and others, then I came up with a second business plan, and it was to kind of see where I was at and what I needed to hire for, so I didn't have to do it. Everybody has goals. I don't want to physically be there to make money. I just want to make money. So I tried to remove myself from the situation by making me another business plan. But I kept on making side business plans to keep myself there. So what I would tell you is the very first step is really I didn't take it seriously until we really had a building in front of us where I had to take it serious. I would tell you to take anything online that's free and do a business plan if you're really serious about starting a business. And then understand that you're gonna have to sit up here and come up with some kind of funds. But that can't be your primary source, can't be a full-time job, because you're gonna have to have full-time of yourself doing your business. So that's all I have.
We can stay there and just move right into financing and the financial, what Yolanda went over, the management part, which is numbers. And I know you guys have notes, so if you want to stick with your notes and answer those questions, you can do so. Still 5 minutes for each one.
Okay, so knowing your numbers, let me tell you something. I've been in business for 6 years. I'm just now understanding my true number. I'm gonna tell you the reason why is because my hourly rate, workers' comp, benefits, I now have paid 5 days off, holiday, PTO. I have a lot of expenses. I have a bigger building. I didn't have these numbers before, and my goal was just to make sure that I was able to make the rent, make the help, and make what we had based off of what we need to live off of. When I got into the building, that changed, and as it changed, so did our customers. That was hard to keep up with because I do so many things. I don't limit myself to one niche. I try my best to take over the whole metal market, so that way we don't put all our eggs in one basket. And so doing that though creates a whole bunch of ways money comes in. You get hourly money, contract money, layaway money. I get it all. So that made it real hard for me to understand my numbers. I said, so this year, after having 2 bad bookkeepers and I'm gonna tell you something, this is the one thing I really learned. Never allow anyone to know your business as far as your financial business without you knowing your financial business. I put it in someone else's hands because I thought that person was more than capable of doing it better than I can. Even with a trained professional local business in town, I don't care who the folks is. I'm not saying they're not going to do their job and do it well. What I'm saying is that you need to know your numbers yourself personally. And you need to understand the process of your numbers and what everything costs. And you need to have reports where you check behind folks. That's what I learned this year. So I can't give you a lot of details on, when I first started, because I was just happy to make money. But now I can tell you from the moment a worker walks in the door how much I made to the time he clocks out at the end of the night. And then so on and so forth, and how many hours that he works, and who's our best employee from our worst employee. So I would tell you to dive into your numbers.
For numbers, I really didn't even know anything about my numbers until about a year ago. Because when I started, I had basically a number in my mind on what I needed to make to keep what I needed to keep. And from there, as I grew, it was just, I only want to spend the money that I make in the business to grow the business. So as long as I was staying within those lines, I thought everything was okay. But then as we began to deal with COVID, it was very important for me to know what I needed to make to keep the doors open on a consistent basis, and how much I needed to make per employee to keep the employees. And if I had noticed anything to change, then I would need to contact my advisors to start to discuss a plan of action. And I really wanted to focus on that because I didn't want someone to work and then come into a business one day that was shut down due to COVID or due to not having the revenue to allow the business to stay open. So I really took it seriously on looking at my numbers at the end of the night just to make sure that we were hitting our marks, and on a daily and on a weekly basis. So for me, I still keep an eye on those numbers. My revenues as far as what I need to make on a daily basis and a weekly basis to keep the amount of people that I have and to make sure my bills are paid. So for me, those are the most important numbers. What's coming in and what's going out to make sure that that stays where it needs to be. So it's easy to see things not going like they're supposed to and think that it's going to get better. But if there's not a game plan to make it better, you're just going down a slippery slope. So keeping an eye on those numbers to know when you really need to come up with a game plan on getting things to go back in the direction that you want to go. Because if you don't, you're just kind of riding until the wheels fall off, and that's really not what you want to do.
So I'll speak to the numbers for my wife, since I'm more numbers driven maybe than she is. So for us, I think one of the things that really helped us to obtain the funding we needed for So Pretty was to making sure that we had our personal finances in order before going into a business and having to worry about those finances. A lot of times people have a lot of good ideas and things that they want to do and what type of business they want to start, but they don't realize that mistakes that you make at a young age, or things that you may have neglected to do at a young age, can impact important numbers long term to prevent you from getting the funding that you need to start your business. One of those things being your credit score. If you don't take care of your credit score at a young age and nurture that credit score to make sure it's where it needs to be before you go and try to obtain funding, you're going to have some issues. Most banks won't even talk to you if you're not in business for at least 2 years. Or how do you get in business for 2 years if you don't have the funding to actually get started? It's making sure your personal finances are in order before you actually go out to try to obtain that funding. So for us, some of the other things that we like to keep track of, the other numbers that we feel are important as part of our business is cash flow. We want to make sure there's always more cash coming in than going out, obviously. You always want to try to stay in the black. Now, is that possible? Not always. Most of the time, small businesses lose money the first few years. But if you can get yourself in a good position cash flow-wise to show trends where you're making, progress towards profitability, then, you're in a good spot. So keeping an eye on your cash flow is important. Also understanding the cost of doing business. How much does it cost to obtain a product or materials to create a product? How much does it cost to create the product, build the product, market the product, and then put the product, sell the product? How much does it take to put that product, get the product ready, and put it out for sale? The cost of doing business is something that you also need to consider before you actually come up with an idea for a product and determine how you want to market it. Net profit sales, as well as sales and inventory. Keeping an eye on sales is important because we really want to know what our customers are into. What do they like? What's hot, what's not? And if we don't have the inventory for the products that are hot, then obviously we can't supply the demand. So we're not making money. We're missing out on opportunities if we don't have the inventory and we're not tracking our inventory like we should. So making sure we have the inventory for the items that are selling very well, things that we consider hot, is important. Also understanding the items that are not selling, what's not hot, making sure we're not, keeping more of those items in inventory than we should because they're just not selling. So those are also other things that we need to keep an eye on as well. And I think that's.
Could have saved some for me. To answer your question, what numbers do I focus on? It depends on the industry of the business. For example, my real estate company, it's all about the ROI, return on investment. In my athletics company, I'm looking at number of athletes, number of tournaments we can run per season, stuff like that. For Roots, there's quite a few different variables here. Touch on a couple here. Number one, I wanted to mention was the community dollars. Where are they going and why? Also, what are we putting back into the community? Because that's part of our initiatives to build up the communities around us. Earlier this year, maybe sometime in March or April, me and my brother did a video on economics, how to track that dollar, where is it going, why it's important to spend your money with the local businesses, small business in particular, and then breaking down even further from there. Obviously, unique to Roots, doing business with the black business for the most part, and the black beauty industry because, again, of the domination in the Korean market. And so whenever you're spending money at the Korean store or Walmart, Family Dollar, any of those, they're not putting that money back into the community. Not only are we supplying jobs, but we're donating to the churches, the schools. People come and ask for help. Sometimes we'll actually, help them out as well, trying to give them opportunities. We offer our experience, education to people who want to learn how to do the business, where to go, financial planning, all of that. We don't want to leave the community worse off when we get there. We want to leave it better off. Also going to focus on the bottom dollar. You got to know the answer to this question: are we profitable? And you can't know that at Tisdale without knowing, your costs, what dollars are going in, what dollars are you keeping in your wallet. We also look at which products are making us the most money. This also helps, strengthen our overall offering. Maybe we can, have less profits on this item, more profits here, and make up the difference. We're at, 50% now, and we're able to draw in more customers. Our inventory numbers. I like to look at the shrink rate and our volumes. We deal with hundreds of thousands of different products, and it's very difficult to keep track of all of them, but when you look at the overall numbers, you can get some ideas of what's happening. If you're not familiar with what a shrink rate is, that is our theft rate. So, how much money are we losing per day, week, month, whatever it may be, due to theft? What things, provisions can we put in to help stop and prevent theft? Without knowing those numbers, it's just a guessing game. You have no idea if you're being bled dry here or there. And when it comes to the volume, always looking at economics again. How much of this product's going out is characterized as a hot product? Is this product just sitting on the shelf? You can't just randomly place things here or there. It comes down to what's going to sell, marketing, visibility, all of that. And just like out here in the real world, we're all competing for the same dollar. Every item needs to be competing in the store for shelf space. Otherwise, it's just sitting there collecting dust, and that's a cost opportunity for you as the business owner if you don't know how to maximize that for yourself.
Thank you. You can always tell when they're business owners. Nobody is going to 5 minutes at all. This is about boom, this is what it is, move on to the next thing. You can tell a business owner with that. One thing I can say about Ryan and his brother Sam is the fact that the marketing aspect, you will always see them, so all of them really. I haven't had anything welded, but I will. I do want a hoodie, I know that. I've almost bit my fingers off from your food. I would love to purchase something from my wife and her sorority from you guys. And of course, well, I don't have to worry about the hair, but just seeing them and how they all have different businesses, but there are parallels through the whole thing. Can we talk about funding and the importance of that?
Interesting thing about Roots Hair and Beauty, we don't utilize any funding. At this time, I should say, as we grow and want to expand, we're following our mission again, and we would like not to have to utilize it, as that's a liability and you want to keep a lot in your asset column. However, we did go ahead and add that into the plan just in case we did need it. The best advice I received was in my real estate company when it came to funding, which I utilized a lot of funding there. And actually it came from Travis Little, I don't know if you guys know him. But you need to be able to cover your loan until it can cover itself. So you're going to build up your business. So in this example, it's the real estate market. So I need to build up my doors. So if it's just single-family homes, if it's multi-units, whatever it may be, I need to build it up to the point in which it can cover those loans itself. Until that point, as he stated here, my credit my ability to pay that. It has to be there, otherwise the loan will not go through. So I need to be able to hold and service that loan myself in the event that all of a sudden, just like 2020 showed, no renters decide to pay rent. You don't have any income coming in. You got to be able to fit that bill. And that's why they do that. In that off chance that something like a pandemic happened, you're able to cover it. He also said, once you're at that point, you need to be able to maintain it. And so how do you do that? You make sure that your rent, for example, that you're charging your tenants is at I believe it's a 2.0 or greater ratio. So if my mortgage was $500, that rent needs to be at $1,000. That way, it'll be able to cover that loan and then some. But irregardless of that, if you don't get that first aspect right, the rest of it cannot follow. So again, it's very important, as he stated earlier. Young age, old age doesn't really matter. Make sure you have your credit in order. If you're going to finance, it'll go a long way.
And I'll say we were fortunate to receive funding from Pathway, and I am, like I say, I guess one of the newest businesses here. So we're fortunate to receive the funding, and we didn't have a lot of I didn't have a lot of individual, let's see how I said it, a lot of lenders or business professionals that were coaching us before finding Pathway. A lot of the things that we did really came from what he and I already knew or what we would research. And so we were fortunate to stumble across Pathway and to be able to have lending provided to them. And the one thing I would say that has worked for us is to be sure to remain coachable. Because you know, a lot of people feel like, okay, well, we got money now, we can go and do whatever we want. With Pathway, I liked it because they're not just providing you with funds, they're also trying to coach you guys so that when you get the money, they're making sure that you're doing the right thing with the money. They're making sure that you're making necessary changes to your business. Maybe you were doing it one way and it wasn't working. These individuals all have different areas of professions, like in marketing or in accounting, and they're telling you because they know that industry. So remaining coachable, listening to the information that they're giving you, changing your structure so that when you're done with the process with Pathway, you can come out and be able to be self-sufficient. So that's one thing I think as us learning newly, starting early, being able to remain coachable and to listen and make those necessary changes so that your business can be profitable.
So, in the beginning, for us, we did, as part of our funding came from our own finances. So we had some savings, we had some things like that. So we did kind of self-fund, but you don't want to do that for so long. You don't want to keep putting your own personal money into your business. You want to spend somebody else's money. So that's why we call Quinn. But so when working with Quinn, one of the things that we found out was it's very important to, like I said, have your own personal finances in order. Have your documentation for things. Be able to produce documentation for your assets, your homes, your cars, your outstanding loans, and things like that. Being able to produce all that documentation really made things easier for us and for Quinn in making sure we get through the process and getting, what we needed to continue to fund the business. So that in itself is so key, so critical, making sure you've got your paperwork and documentation in place before you go to try to acquire any funding. Like I said earlier, most banks, traditional lenders, but they won't even talk to you unless you've been in business for 2 years. But how do you do that without funding? To get the funding, you gotta put yourself in the best position, and then you gotta work with Pathway.
So I would say one of the biggest things I learned is transparency. Because as a business, you always want to put your best foot forward. You're always trying to sell your business even when you're not selling your business. And the thing about Pathway is just maintain the transparency because they're in it for the long haul. It's not just a group that's gonna give you that one shot, and if it don't work, then you're out the door. had the opportunity to work with Quentin, you know, in the last month or so, and you know, I just feel like I felt comfortable that I could be transparent with him and let him know the ins and outs of what was going on in my business, why I was making decisions that I was making for my business, and that allowed him and Pathway to have a better understanding of where I was and you know, how they could help. So I think that, you know, it's very important to have that transparency with the lender, as well as the visibility to the financials. You know, that's something that I have to, you know, work on. You know, we're going to get together and give them that visibility, because, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing the growth in my business can have with the help of people that are paid to help. And essentially, you know, Pathway has a team of people that are paid to help people just like you and me to get funding and to grow our businesses and you know, create a better economy for our community, you know, by making jobs. So I definitely think it's big to have transparency with your lender. Because sometimes it's not always where you're at. It's the journey that got you there and the abilities that are going to come from the next step. So, you know, transparency and visibility are key for lenders.
One of the biggest things about welding and fabrication, our next step is equipment, and our equipment is very expensive. And so I knew that going in, if I went into this bigger building, that I would have to go into stamping and making the pieces, parts, and so on and so forth. That would be the only way that we would sustain, again, one of those business plans I created. That being said, I went ahead and made the leap, and I did not have the funding yet for the machines, because I thought we had enough work coming in, we would handle it. When I first heard of Pathway Lending was right when I started, when I was in Nashville doing recruitment, when I was out trying to start my business. I was out in Nashville looking into government contracts, and their office there always used to be at those events, and they would talk to me about it. At that time, I wasn't in a place to do anything, and I knew it. You know, we were robbing Peter to pay Paul. So I'm not one of the people that's going to tell you that I had the best credit. That's not it. And I will also tell you that I was not financially intelligent on how to get a loan or how business works. So I'll tell you that as well. So there's a lot of people in this room who probably can identify with that. What a lending institute does is they teach you those skill sets. What they're supposed to do is say, what is your goal? And they're supposed to sit up here and help determine how you can get there. And they have people that kind of give you this path of what you need to do, what your next steps are. And Pathway did that for me. So when I came to them, I basically had an idea, a plan, and they read my plan. And they said, they looked at my numbers. At the time, I had my numbers done by my bookkeeper, my first bookkeeper I had. She did a very good job at it. And they were like, this sounds great. We want to go ahead and help you. But this is what we need you to do. And so I had to revisit. And then I had to come back one more time. And then I think a third time. And then was at the underwriters forever. And then finally they called me and said, you got it. I will go ahead and add to the fact of once you do get approved for stuff, it don't magically make you money the day it comes into your shop. And my loan was only for my equipment. I didn't think about certain things like getting the equipment inside the building, transportation, oil, $5,000 worth of oil. So I would encourage you, when you do get a loan, make sure you put all those things in it. Then once we got the equipment, again, it didn't magically make us money. To this day, I'm still having to pay the cost. And I think I've had it for over 6 months. I'm still having to pay the cost for it until it can produce. Now, it's not producing. but it's not producing what I needed to produce to pay for it, and then for me to make a profit for the people who are working on it. So those are all the things that I think when you look at, you know, your finances and getting a loan and getting finances, that you don't have to be super A1 credit, but you do have to go through a process. And then when you go through the process, you do have to have a backup plan once you get whatever you get the loan for. You need to have a solid plan, and even plan to take care of whatever you're buying with that magnitude of money.
At this time, we are ahead of schedule. Thank you guys for just going straight to the punch and getting us there. So if it's okay, we'll go ahead and take our 15-minute break. But I want to say this: if you want to go ahead now and start jotting down questions that you want to ask for the question and answer here, that would be cool. So we can just go ahead and stretch our legs, get us some refreshments, and then we'll come back with the answer. We're going to do 10 minutes. We'll do 10 minutes.